Okay, so this story takes place when Caillou was still 4 years old. Today was the day that Caillou, his sister Rosie, and his friends, and their parents go check out this new park that's been in their town for years. This new park was in the middle of nowhere. When they got to the park, the kids immediately started to play in the big playground until it was 9 p.m. This was in the middle of October, so it's been past dark since 7. Caillou, Rosie, and his two friends, Leo and Clementine, were now sitting around in the grass by a tree, trying to figure out what else they could do so they weren't so bored. Their parents heard that there was a big shelter somewhere not far from the playground, so they thought they could check it out. Only one problem. The shelter was someone's property, and the owner of the park told them and their parents not to disturb them since they were quite strange. The kids weren't really supposed to go anywhere out of their parents' watch, but their curiosity got the best of them, to the extreme. They walked for about 20 minutes until they finally reached the shelter. It was a lot bigger than they expected. There was a large tree right behind it. The tree was about 30 feet tall, and it had the right amount of branches, safe enough for someone to climb on it. Caillou, Rosie, Leo, and Clementine decided to go into the shelter and check it out. As they were walking towards the shelter and entered inside, they heard loud footsteps from the top of the shelter coming downstairs, so they bolted out of the shelter and hid in the big tree. They now stopped hearing the footsteps since they were now outside and into the leaves of the tree. Caillou, Rosie, Leo, and Clementine just chilled there for a while. They talked and played little games. Now it was about 9:50, and everything was pretty much pitch black. That's when they started to hear the doors of the shelter slowly open. Then they started hearing the same footsteps, and this time they sounded aggressive. They stayed put up in that tree, trying to stay quiet. The doors of the shelter sounded like they were fully open, and the footsteps sounded like they were coming towards the tree. The only thing Caillou, Rosie, and his friends could hear now were a few birds and the aggressive footsteps. Then, the footsteps sounded like someone was walking around the tree. And then out came a very loud thud against the shelter. Then, Caillou, Rosie, Leo, and Clementine heard a loud scream saying, "I know you little brats are out there. I'm gonna find you, and then I'm gonna kill you." Caillou looked at his sister and then at his friends. All three of them were shaking in fear. The person who shouted sounded like a woman's voice, and that woman must have been the crazy shelter owner. She seems pretty furious that they went into her property. She started screaming and saying that she was going to hunt them down, take them into her house, tie them to some chairs, and kill them if she finds them. They could see that she had a flashlight and she was swinging around like crazy, looking for them. They heard very loud thuds as she walked around for a while, calling out for them. And thank God she never shined the flashlight up into the tree. And then all of a sudden, everything went silent. It sounded as if she went back into the shelter. Caillou was way too terrified to move. They sat there for about 30 minutes, and Leo whispered into Caillou's ear saying that they should get out of there. Caillou gave him a quick nod, and in slow motion, they climbed down from the tree. They started to army crawl into the deep grass by the tree. Then Caillou took a quick look behind him to see the full body of the shelter. He saw that the door was still wide open and the woman was staring right at him. with a creepy, sinister smile. She then gave him a little wave at that moment. And then Caillou screamed and cried for his parents and ran. Leo, Rosie, and Clementine saw him run, and they took off after him. All four of them could hear the screaming right behind them. Caillou took another quick look and behind them, he saw that she was chasing after them. And he couldn't make out the object the woman had in her hand, but it looked like some kind of sharp weapon of some sort. Caillou, Rosie, Leo, and Clementine ran near the playground and jumped behind some bushes. It was very pitch black in the playground, so they couldn't hear a thing. They sat there for a while, just shaking like a leaf. And Rosie began to cry with fear, and it was a little hard to keep her quiet. The woman never walked anywhere near them on the playground, and they never heard her after. And then afterwards, Caillou, Rosie, Leo, and Clementine gathered enough courage and they got back up and walked back to their parents to find them. They eventually found them and left the park. The next morning, the parents talked to the owner of the park about the woman that owned the property of the shelter. The owner said that he didn't know much about the woman, but he knows that she has some severe mental problems, and that she had been accused of murder multiple times. Back at home, Caillou was very happy that him, Leo, Rosie, and Clementine were able to escape from that shelter. I can't really imagine what would have happened if she caught them.